thirsty?
It's St. Patrick's Day. Anyone thirsty? All right, fine. We'll go with it.
Neither Alex or I drink, so this is like really funny for us.
We're trying to hype people up for, the major thirst.
Thank you for being here. Thirst is a storytelling series we started by accident, as you'll hear more about. And originally it happened in a New York City apartment, and from then it has sprawled to hotel bars, public parks, and really anywhere we can get people to shut up and listen.
In 2018, it started in a time of transition for me and Gracie. Gracie had just moved to Paris, and I had just been left by my first husband.
I had tragically moved to Paris, but it was slightly less tragic than being left by your first husband.
I came to Paris in this newfound freedom, and somehow a friend of mine was shooting photographs of Gracie, and I decided to kind of cut in on his dance, and I said, hey, why don't we do some artsy nudes on this beautiful staircase that you have? She had a beautiful staircase with a red carpet, and I was like, yeah, artsy nudes on the red carpet. I've got my camera. And I kind of worked in on his photographer's action.
And I was like, we didn't really know each other, but I was like, yeah, of course, let's get naked in my stairwell. And it was cold, kind of winter Paris situation. The camera wasn't advancing. We were like, I don't know if this is going to be a double exposure. A lot of assorted exposure. Afterwards, that was a wrap. I was like, I'll probably never see these photos again. No worries.
They turned out to be the best photos I've ever taken in my life. And so I printed them really huge and told her that I was making sculptures out of my walls. I had cut giant holes in them, and I was going to plaster giant photos of Gracie nude all over my walls in New York.
Yeah, Alex was like, I want to do a wheat paste like you see on the streets of New York. And I was like, babe, maybe not in the street. But she was like, no, it's okay. I was going back to New York in May. I don't even know why. And she's like, don't worry. We're just going to turn my apartment into an art gallery. We're going to have all these storytellers come in, and we're going to do this event. I've already just started demolishing my apartment.
So I slept on a pull-out couch for a while, and Gracie organized the event in the structure of it, the narrative of it.
And so next thing we know, there's 60 people cramming into Alex's apartment. I'm having to explain to my dad's second wife, sorry, do you want to see my boobs?
They're everywhere.
She had to. It was the place to be. So obviously she just. And this is making it sound like Thirst was really fun and successful. And
it kind of was, but that wasn't exactly the point of it.
Because the point with Thirst is that so often we see ourselves in times of these moments of arriving and being somewhere and having achieved something, or these moments of failure. But really, Thirst is about the wanting, because sometimes for a very long time, that's all you have. And now I leave you with Alex.
So, I'm the first storyteller. I usually go because I guess maybe because I have no embarrassment, or I used to not sure. So my story, the theme tonight is foreign soil. And my story involves a lot of times in which I was very thirsty, which also doubles for a feeling of desperation. So along the theme of foreign soil is my relationship with Paris. I'm not going to claim I have some, better or more involved relationship with Paris than anyone else. Like everyone, I read Henry Miller, et cetera, and Anais Nin, and, I don't even have to explain. So the first time I went to Paris, I was 6 months old. My mom and dad went because he was a drug dealer at the time, and I guess from what the family mythos was he was extortionist, had started strong-arming the, working class of all drug dealers guy that was my father, or they could have just been pissed that he ripped them off. I mean, it's all in the description. Truth is fluid in my family's storytelling history. So we came to Europe for 6 months sort of on the lam, and there's these beautiful pictures of me and my mom in the halls of Versailles or in front of the Eiffel Tower, and it's very idyllic. The second time we were in Paris was years later when I was 8, and my mom trying to like hold on to this old ideal where they had this, time of fanfare and freedom back when I was 6 months old, wanted to come back. And she did, but she had a lot less money. My dad was in prison. A lot of the money was spent on the defense and getting as little time as possible actually in prison. And she was spending the last of the money trying to like recapture that time and space. A little bit of that rubbed off on me. Fast forward about 25 years, I come back here for a honeymoon for my first marriage, an ill-advised marriage. I met him getting clean. He was getting clean from heroin, and I was getting clean from just life in general, and also like various bits and baubles of mind-altering chemicals. And both of us met in this point in time where we had nothing else going on. And that point in time and space we tried really desperately to hold on to. And a lot of people do this, you see, they're on some kind of trajectory, they don't know where it's going. Somehow they meet and they desperately try to hold on to it. And we were really different people, and we tried to hold on too long. So after, probably a bit after it had passed its time, its moment, we were on our honeymoon. We had gotten married behind a veil. While we were getting married, I was thinking like, oh, this isn't it. But, I can make this work. So we're in Paris. We realize we're really different people. I immediately have that glint, like, oh, wanderlust, travel, I'm here. I feel it. I remember it from a child. Like, I want to use this as a jumping off point. I want to see Europe. I want to live like this. And he was just like, when are we going back? This is fun and everything, but like, why would you want to just be, fetterless? And I don't know if you guys know it, but I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but Barbet, it's like a subway, Barbès, thank you. Barbès. So there's this store where you can buy like cheap clothes and like household goods and also wedding dresses. And there's this skyway above, between the two buildings. There's a skyway, like a walkway. And in front of it, in this it's like scratched plexiglass windows that are kind of tinted. And in front of it, there's this banner. And in a script, it says marriage on this pink banner. And I said, Greg, go up there. I want to take a picture of you in front of the sign. And he's like, okay. He goes up, and I'm taking a picture, and he's like in a hoodie behind this scratched, dirty plexi above this sign, this like faded sign, pink, that's no longer pink. And it says marriage, and I was like laughing to myself while I took the picture. I'm like, but this is it. This is our vibe. Like, our vibe is not, like, our vibe's not hopeful, So, anyway, fast forward 2 years later. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you. We did like the Lovelock thing on the bridge, but this is the year they were cutting them all off. They were cutting them all off and like taking them away because it was like actually buckling the structure. But we were like, we're gonna trick the fates, right? We're gonna somehow circumvent like what we know, what both of us already knew. We were gonna try to lock this in place, this relationship, even though we knew it was like not working. So we like went to a secret place on a railing that was, dug in some stone underneath one of the bridges, and like clicked our lock on that. Fast forward 2 years later, I come to Paris. Greg has left me the summer before for a different person. Not me. Perfectly nice young lady, just. I come to Paris, just, not me, like one of my friends. So it's like, oh, yes. But don't worry. So I come and I'm like, I'm going to come to Paris and I'm going to clip that lock and I'm going to throw it in the Seine and I'll be like, fuck you, Greg. And like everyone, like it'll be epic, I had a friend, Chris Dickey, who worked as an international reporter for a long time. And he met me and he was like, just in case, like, here's my phone number, just in case you get arrested, like, you kind of, you maybe are used to New York, whatever. You're going to be bolt cutting something at God knows what time in the morning. Gracie helped me negotiate buying the bolt cutters. And so there I am. At dawn with my friend Daniel. And we had walked up and down the Seine. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to find it, but then I found it. And I clip it. And as I'm about to throw it in the river, and I was like, it was going to be this big, like, fuck you, even though we don't like that word. It's like we were going to. And all of a sudden I was just like, oh, no. I found myself really, genuinely apologizing to younger me and younger Greg for being so naive as to think that we could harness a moment that should have stayed a moment. And instead tried to extend it to the point where it would harm us, and like where we had to pull apart. But 2019, I come back after, I had a lot of, I was really into this like newfound freedom. So I went to Bangkok and learned how to box, but that's a different story for a different time. I stop by Paris on the way back and it's 2019 and I'm like writing love letters to some new guy. His name is Adam. Fast forward to 2020, Adam's proposing to me in Gracie's apartment. And we're like, she was there. And we're like, this is it. I was like, wow, this is a guy. He had that glint. He had that desire, that wanderlust. And we were like, this is it, man. We're going to move to Paris. And then from there, who knows? The world is our oyster. And that was February 2020. But fast forward, we just moved here a couple weeks ago. We are married, and we brought a little baby with us. So marriages, points in time, we're creating a new one. I hope that's the good ending for everybody. I'm going to introduce the next storyteller. Please welcome Bruce Sheffield, one of our first storytellers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to admit that I don't really know what I'm going to do, but since Gracie asked me, I've been thinking about the word foreign soil, and it made me start thinking of three things, so please bear with me and help me if I forget one of them. One of them is the cemetery, one of them is the song, and one of them is my brother visiting me in Paris. So those are the three things that I'm going to talk about today. So I bought a house last year, and in the 9-3, represent. I have a lot of Pakistani and Indian and Bangladeshi in my neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood. You should come and check it out. And next to my house, there's this cemetery where I go and visit my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my grandfather, and my sister who died last year, and my other sister who died in 2015. And I just walk around, and I just walk around, and I walk around. I do it every couple months, and I just go, and then I sit on a bench, and I talk to my family that I've lost. And surprisingly, none of them are buried there. Because I can't go back home to see all of them, so I've chosen the cemetery next to where I live as my place to go and give thanks to my ancestors. And when she gave me this topic, foreign soil, I said to myself, the most foreign of all soils is the dirt that they put on top of you when you're dead. And I was thinking about my brother. I'm also a twin. We are military kids, army brats, as you'd like to say, and we grew up in foreign soils. We were born in Nashville, Tennessee. We grew up in Germany for 4 years, Heidelberg. We grew up in Korea for 4 years, in Seoul. All over America. I went to school in Florida, and I went to New York, and I've been here for 19 years, and I've traveled all over the world. But my brother and I, because of my sister's death last year, we finally became non-estranged again after 4 years. After his divorce, he kind of disappeared from my life. And it took my sister's death last year for him to realize that you don't want to lose the last 3 people in your life, which is my other sister, myself, and of course we have aunts and cousins and everything like that. But I'm finally at a place in my life, let's say economically, artistically, and I'm very grateful financially that when I was struggling here as a young, dumb, and full of cum artist, who is now old, dumb, and full of cum. That was a joke. He helped me out back in the day when I needed a little bit of cash, and so I could bring my son, who is now almost 12, that we could go visit his grandmother, my mother, before she passed in 2015. So I told my brother, I was like, bro, come on, man. He's a fraternity boy, you know, he's kind of, they don't grow taller, they just grow. You know all the frat boys and how do you say, sorors that you've seen in your life. They kind of just get, they're still very proud that the shirt still fits after 20 years, but it's up to here. It's up to here by now. I've seen it, so I said, yo, bro, why don't you come and visit me? I'd like to treat you, I'll buy the ticket and come and visit me. And he said, I'd like to do that. I would really like to do that. And I'd like to take him to this little cemetery and just walk around and we can just have a little bit of a talk, And he was like, yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to do that. I promise. I don't think he's going to do it because I think he's scared to do it. He wants to do it, but I think he's scared to do it. So I started writing him this song, and I'm a singer and a poet and everything like that. And the third, so I'm getting to all the points. So the third part was like, sometimes late at night, because, it's 6 hours difference. He's in Florida. Only go for a couple of days and then leave Florida. That's what's on my passport. I said, yes, sir, I can only stay for 4 days, sir, then I have to leave because Florida will suck you in, man, and suck you dry, man. Woo! He lives in Orlando. That's rough, man. That is rough stuff. It's beautiful, but then you gotta just try to just escape as quickly as you can. All right? So that's why I can't get his ass out of there. But anyway, so late at night, around 1 o'clock in the morning, for me, it's like, what, -6? And I just saw the song. And I started singing this song, and I just said, I want to go there. I want to go there. I said, I want to go there to see my mother's face. I want to go there, yeah. And a couple of years ago, I was going to write my mother and father a gospel record. I'm not very religious, but gospel, it hits you. It hits you right in the feels, And I was just on the phone with him going like, I want to go there. He's like, Bruce, shut the fuck up, man. Let's talk about football. Or I said, which football? Football over here or football over there? Because it's two different things, guys. Ours is a little white ball. Yours is a round prostate. And I said to myself, I said, do I want to go there? Do I want to go to that foreign soil? I don't want to go there. I want to give respect to my parents, but maybe my brother doesn't want to go there either. I don't want to die. You don't want to die either. So I started changing the lyrics from I want to go there to I want to go near. 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 I want to see my mother's face. I want to see it loud and clear. I want to go near. I want to go near, Lord. But then I said to myself, I was like, I do want to go near. But I don't think that's fair to my mother and my father and my brother and my sisters. I do want to go there. So then I just started thinking, and I said to my brother, he was on the phone. He's not a songwriter. He's more of a businessman, drinker, fun haver. He's a good father. He's a good father, though. And I was like, what should I write about? I don't want to go near it, because I want to go near sounds like it's not respectful enough. It's not respectful enough. And I had Gracie's thing on my mind. I want to think about this foreign soil. It's not just about where you go. If I'm going to go, I'm going to go. So in your life, if you're going to go, you go. You don't have to go, but you got to go all the way. You can't go near. And that's what my brother told me. He knows me. He knows I'm not going to go near. If we're going to go all the way. Just like my name. My name is Bruce. I was named after my grandmother. Her name is Bruce Wilhelmina. Every generation of my family has a Bruce in it. My son's name is Trevor Bruce. My name is Bruce Edward. Edward is my grandfather's name. My father's name was Michael Bruce. His mother, my grandmother, was Bruce Wilhelmina Sheffield. You see? And before that, it was another Bruce, which was a male. She just happened to be the first. And it's always the first male. It's the firstborn, has to be Bruce. So they didn't want to give her Bruce the middle name, so they just gave it her first name. And when I was growing up, I was walking around, I was like, my grandmother was there. She'd visit us from New York, because my family's from New York and Florida. And they'd say, and they're like, hey, babe, my mom, I'm trying to do my mom's impression. Hey, baby, we gonna go see Bruce, okay? So we'll be back pretty soon. Every time I was like, you're gonna go see Bruce, but I'm right here, Mom. I'm right here. What you mean you're gonna go see Bruce? And then that was very young. And then when I was a little bit older, they were like, okay, Bruce is gonna come visit us, so I want you to put on a nice shirt and everything, Bruce. And I was like, wait a minute, Bruce is my grandmother. Why do they call Granny Bruce? She's Granny to me. Why is she called Bruce? I never fucking understood that until I was 22. 22 years old after my father's passing. I have, American healthcare system. Let's not talk about that. That's another story for another day. And the war record. My father lost all his battalion in Vietnam, and he never recovered from that. He was the only one who survived. So that's what basically killed him many years later, survivor's guilt. After his funeral, it was the first time I understood that my grandmother's name was Bruce. That was actually her first name. That was her first name. I just called her Granny. So, you call her Mom. I call her bitch Granny, man. She's Granny to me, man. I don't call her Bruce. And then finally, we were in her house. Because she's a New York brownstone. And I was like, oh, her Bruce. That is actually who I am. That is who I am. And my brother also reminded me of that, We've established our relationship. And he said, Bruce, if you're going to write that goddamn song, man, don't ever write about it being near. Just go. Just go. You don't have to go now, but you got to go. So I changed the lyrics from, I want to go there, and I don't want to go there. I want to go near, which is not honorable enough, to, when I get there, when I get there, I'm gonna see my mother's face and wipe the tears from my father's eyes. I'm gonna see my sister. I'm gonna see my grandmama too. When I get there, they're gonna be waiting for me. Oh, when I get there, it's gonna be like a party. I said, when I get there, I'ma be okay now. 'Cause I've been waiting a long time for my final day. Thank you for listening to my story.
I'm very pleased to introduce my dear friend, Roni Shah, who is making his way to the stage. If you can try to imagine us 10 years ago, we met as students here. He may have been wearing a light blue polo.
And shorter hair.
I
And
might have
Gracie
had
had longer hair.
and probably some lame shirt. Take it away.
Do I need to hold the furry mouse? All right. So, I grew up in Texas. So that means I wanted to move abroad immediately. Unfortunately, I also chose a career path that shackled me to the United States. And as of this past July, all that shit is done. So, where does the Indian kid from Texas choose to move after 10 years of school? Israel. Ronel, why the hell are you moving somewhere where you don't know the language, you're not Jewish, and the only thing you know about the culture is how to say hummus? Mais c'est bien sûr, c'est pour l'amour. Why else, right? So I'm doing my preparations. I take 30 weeks, 3 10-week semesters of Hebrew classes. I learn how to properly say hummus. And I learn all the PC things not to say, so it's just better not to talk about those things. So I get to Israel, I'm ready. Here we go. I've studied abroad in France before. This shit is going to be easy. That shit is not easy. So my 30 weeks of Hebrew very much prepared me for how to say certain things, like ordering, random bullshit, whatever. But I was not prepared for, not so important things like how to read things at the grocery store, how to get around on public transportation, how to ask for help. So, yeah. So I spent the first few weeks just in this state of constant worry and tension. When I'd come to France, I'd been taking French. I had Gracie with me to bitch about things with. But when I got to Israel, my girlfriend, she's Israeli. It's easy for her. For me, it was this sense of being completely lost. And despite people speaking English, it was just like being surrounded by a constant sense of foreignness. Somehow, I stumbled upon librairies and Montsoufleur, and for whatever reason, these small little tokens of speaking French and French culture became like refuges for me. It really reminded me of when I was a young boy and we'd go to India and I'd just be sitting there in the middle of the monsoon, clicking through the TV, being like, please let there be something in English. And, back at home, I would never dare to watch something girly like Sailor Moon or the Powerpuff Girls. But in India, I'm like, butter spice, let's go. Okay, so yeah, in that same way that this thing that maybe you take for granted or you just sort of maybe even disdain becomes your source of refuge. For the record, I don't disdain France. Don't kill me. Okay, so we fast forward a little bit, and I decide, okay, I need to go somewhere where I actually feel like home on this side of the world. So I come to Paris, and immediately it's a 180-degree change from being in Tel Aviv. I get to the airport. I can speak French. I can read the signs. I know what the hell's going on. I immediately eat a pain au chocolat, and I'm like, thank God. Thank God. So I go about my life, settle into my apartment near the Bastille, and start living the French dream. But, on lonely nights, I'm walking around, and I find myself in the Marais. I start seeing the long line in front of L'As du Falafel. And I come upon some of the structures there, and there is a school that teaches Talmud and the Torah, and it's got Hebrew letters in front of it. So I'm standing there kind of excited because, it's like this knowledge that I get to finally deploy. So I'm standing there like this, looking in front of it. People are looking at me as if I'm like having a stroke, but it's something that I'm like, it's like a little secret that I'm sharing with the building, that I can understand what it says from that 30 weeks and from my experience in Israel. So here we have it. I go to somewhere and French is my refuge, and then now I'm in France, but now I'm finding refuge from loneliness with my little connection reading Hebrew. Am I just a fickle piece of shit? I don't know. I don't know. So is this a story about belonging? Is this a story about identity? Is it a story just about plain old ego and wanting to feel special in a place? You tell me. You decide. All I know is that 2 pieces of advice come to mind. The first is, let everything happen to you, the beauty and the terror. And the second is, wherever you go, there you are. Because, I'm the psychiatrist. I gotta... So I guess the main thing to take away for me is appreciating the things that happen and hoping that today's terrors turn into tomorrow's refuges. Merci beaucoup.
My story is about this time. I was in my early 20s, and me and my then boyfriend Jake, we took this very adult vacation to Panama City. And when I say adult vacation, I mean we had that kind of early 20s relationship where we were really good at having sex with each other, but we were not that good at doing anything else. And when I say vacation, you need to know that we're in the US, we both had office jobs, so we took a lavish vacation of like 5 days, where 2 of the days were spent flying back and forth to Panama City. And we only went there because Jake had a friend who could do 2 things for us. He could hook us up to go to the San Blas Islands, these beautiful archipelago of islands off the coast of Panama, and he could get us a room for cheap at the Trump Hotel in Panama City. Keep in mind, this was before Trump was elected, early 2010s. So staying at the Trump Hotel, it was kind of like rich, sleazy, but it had none of the, like, I understand I'm part of the problem, but back then, it was kind of like, yeah, let's go. So SUV comes, we're in Panama City, type of situation where the car arrives at like 5 a.m. to bring you to this remote island. You're paying the guy cash, you're getting in his SUV, and you're kind of like, am I kidnapping myself? Like, does it count as kidnapping if I'm paying the money and getting in the car already? And we're riding through these mountains. I'm like, Jake, I'm pretty sure like this is the end of it. But eventually we get to the coast. There's another man in a boat. We give him more cash. Another situation where we're like, okay, now the guy's going to take us to the island. Like, we're really just going for it. But we arrive at the San Blas Islands, and they're beautiful. No inhabitants, pristine. You pay, and you get set up in this little beach cabana, and you sleep there. You're surrounded by water. You go and you're eating the fresh fruit. So our cabin has these like palm fronds, sand, no floor, just sand. A lot of sand everywhere. So obviously Jake and I immediately have sex. The bed gets sandy. And like a sandy bed, not great. Sandy sex, even less great. And like I mentioned before, like we're kind of like, okay, well, I guess we'll just hang out on this island because we can't really sleep with each other again. So in the beginning, it's very idyllic. But after a day or two, I'm like, you know what? Kind of starting to dream about the Trump Hotel, to be honest. It's sounding pretty sweet right now. The other thing that's happening on the island is they keep on making us these delicious meals, and I'm eating, but nothing's really coming out. So I'm like, you know what? I think that when we get to the Trump Hotel, it's really just going to be like this vacation reset. And I spent so much of my 20s just being like, you know what? I'm miserable in New York, but when we get to Panama City, like, then I'll be happy. We arrive. Oh, when we get to these islands, then I'll be happy. No, actually, when we get off the island, then I'll be happy. But I have to say, when we got to the Trump Hotel, I was pretty fucking happy. I was like, I'm gonna take a shower. This room has no sand. The bed had like these really nice white hotel sheets, and you're like, yes. But the room did have one feature. It had just glass walls around the bathroom. No nice little hallway, no solid, just a little thin glass barrier. And like I said, Jake and I, we weren't living together. We like didn't have the kind of relationship where I would necessarily just like want to go in this glass bathroom while he was just right there. So I devised a brilliant plan. It's actually, I think it was maybe a 5-step plan. One, I was gonna give him the slip. I was gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym, just like hit the treadmill for a little while. You can go do something else. Then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna take a shower, and then we're gonna go to dinner. Probably have some drinks. Then we're gonna have like hotel sex. It was a brilliant plan. So the story has made it seem like I remember a lot from that trip, but I've really had to like I've had to go back and like do some scrolling on the photos for the refresher. Because my most vivid moment of the trip is just running on this treadmill in the Trump Hotel, listening to Rihanna as loud as possible in my headphones, and just feeling like a champion. I was like, I've made it, I'm here, like all my dreams are coming true. So I go back to the room, ready to execute step 2 of the plan. And I open the door, and Jake is just there, like fucking lying on the bed, like just doing nothing. And I was like, I just didn't even know what to do. And I honestly can't even remember. I've tried to remember how I navigated that situation. I have no idea what I did. I definitely was not ready to just take a shit in front of him. I was not at that point where I could talk about my bowel movements in front of people as I do now. I've obviously come a long way. So the night kind of spiraled out from there, and we definitely got drunk, started bickering, and at one point he just comes at me and he's like, you should have seen the look on your face when you walked into the room and saw me. And I was like, yeah, because you were fucking there, cracking my style. But I didn't say that to him. I honestly, I don't even know what I said. So I've been trying to think of like a nice ending, a way to wrap the story up. And the only conclusion I can give you is if you're dumb and suck at communicating in your 20s, try to just be a little less dumb and a little less bad at communicating in your 30s. Last but not least, we have Adam Levy, the greatest, the tallest, the greatest, taking off his jacket. Thank you everyone for listening to these stories on foreign soil. We really appreciate it. Monsieur.
I don't appreciate the pressure. So my name's Adam. If you were here at the very beginning, you heard my wife talking. I'm the better of the husbands. Yeah, husband sucks, right? Fuck that guy. I'm way better. I'm glad you all agree. This is a weird place to be having this topic. It's not a weird place to be having a storytelling event. Everybody has the storyteller attender look. You get to fill in the blanks of what that is. But I'm from America, as if you couldn't already tell by all of that. And this doesn't feel like the most foreign place in the world. You know, like I haven't been able to take my eye off this bumper sticker that says some shit-lived thing about Democrats and Republicans. It says, Democrats think the glass is half full, Republicans think the glass is theirs. Which makes sense if you live in America and give a shit. So it's weird to be talking about foreign soil, but of course, it made me think about things. What's it mean to be foreign? Well, humans, it turns out, are pattern-matching creatures. Like, from a very young age, the way that our brains sort of like work, and well, I don't care. So people are allowed to talk during me. You construct your identity by understanding that some things are not like other things. One of these things does not belong, that's a transferable skill, right? I still have that. I still have the ability to look at something and realize it doesn't belong, like share buttons next to porn videos. like at no point can I imagine somebody watching porn and going, oh man, my friend Blake needs to see this, and just sort of popping it over in iMessage or on Facebook or something like that, or like any of the 9 links. Another thing that doesn't belong on porn sites is comments. I was looking for different kinds of user-generated content than that. So doesn't belong. Okay, yeah. Foreign. Where did we go from that? Where we go from that is how, just in the same way that I understand who I am, based on understanding the way things are not like other things, cultures also grow like that. There are people, I don't have to prove anything to you, I'm just talking and you're listening, so there are people, trust me, who believe that culture exists because we run into different cultures. Because when we see a group of other people, we then define ourselves by what we're not, which is those losers. Except COVID's been kind of interesting because our culture had to change in response to something else. COVID was really weird in the States. My wife and I live in Greenwich Village. We got married the day that Governor Cuomo shut down the city in what ended up being like the beginning of like a really interesting 3-month period, and it turned into a really interesting 2-year period where 1 million Americans died. But I know it's hilarious. For those 3 months, it was really eerie because all of a sudden you were living on a completely different planet. You were living on a movie set where everything that you were used to was closed. I remember like a week in, it was like we had gotten into this habit where we were just like killing a pint of lemon sorbet at night because that's just what you do. It's what you gotta do. I don't have to explain myself to you. And so, in one night we didn't have our preparatory pint of lemon sorbet, and so I was like, I'll just go out and get it. And at 10:30 at night, a perfectly reasonable time to get ice cream from a store in New York City. Not here though. I walked out and I didn't see a person. And I took 15 steps and then I ran back upstairs. Like I had no clue what to do at that point. I was absolutely terrified. But there was something that happened 3 months in where a couple of restaurants started opening up. And Mamoun's Falafel opened up on McDougal Street, right? I have also had diarrhea. And Mamoun's Falafel opened up. And this was in the stage of the pandemic where everybody was washing all their vegetables and washing their hands over and over again, but not wearing masks, right? Definitely don't want to wear a mask because they don't work, and we got to save them for the essential workers who definitely need them, but you definitely don't. So we were confused, and so we wore these blue gloves. We were wearing blue gloves when we got married and no masks, which was hysterical. We're in charge. We should win. And so Mamoun's opened up, and I was like, I'm gonna branch out. You know, I can feel safe, so I'm gonna get a falafel. I'm gonna go to Mamoun's and get a falafel. And something happened when I walked through that door. I just immediately took this deep breath. Just like, oh, and I completely forgot we were in a pandemic. I just completely forgot. So like I'm leaning against the wall and just like idly playing with a whole bunch of like obviously infected shit. And like I'm like super excited to like pay cash to the falafel guy. And like I turn around and I get the falafel sandwiches and I turn around and see my wife like looking through the windows. Like I was like actively licking everyone. Just like where do you not? And I was just like, I was completely taken over by this feeling of like home, of like what it felt like to be home. But what does it mean to be on foreign soil? Being on foreign soil means you find yourself unprepared and unequipped and unsure of yourself and your boundings, and really wishing you could return to that point of being safe, of like being known, of being among your people. And for me, who's an arrogant narcissist, that means knowing what you're doing all the time. Nothing has made me feel as foreign as fatherhood. I don't know if anybody else has had a similar experience, but when I was a baby, I didn't remember anything that happened to me. And so I didn't exactly have like anything to model after. I don't know how my parents parented me, because I was barely around, right? Like I didn't count in any real meaningful way. I don't have any memory recall of like, oh, this, I really had to burp, and so I thought I was going to die, and then my parents did this, and then that solved everything for 10 minutes. I'm a very much like in the moment person, like solve the problems that are right in front of me, and so like come to every situation and figure out what's in that situation. Don't borrow problems from the future. That's my whole deal. And so I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about being a dad because I was a husband to a pregnant woman, and that comes with its own issues. And then when and then he came early, and so it was like we're rushing to the hospital, and he came early, so it was like he was in the NICU, and it was crazy. She had a C-section. It was crazy. I'm sorry for breaking her C-section anonymity. And then had to go run home and build a crib and build a stroller and do all that stuff. And then getting to the hospital and realizing that the problem in front of me now was how to be a dad, how to deal with a baby. And I had no clue what to do. I had never changed a diaper. I hadn't held a kid. I hadn't held a baby in 25 years. And I found myself trying to, like, I don't know, I don't find it comfortable being in a foreign situation, so I try to like really closely watch what everybody is doing and just sort of act like them in as many ways possible, like adopt a really shitty French accent and just sort of like I don't know when my ums turned into as soon as I walked out of the airport, but they did. Like in the US, it sounds like this caveman grunt, like, I want to get, you know, whatever dumb thing they get. But, you know, so I'm sitting there, my son is in, my son is sitting in this, my son is sitting in his little incubator thing, and it's time to change his diaper. And I just sort of have to do the most fatherly thing that I can think of, which is to sort of step aside and let the nurse handle it. We were in there for 4 days, and I can tell you that by the time I left, I was a professional. So I have an 8-month-old. If anybody has any questions about parenthood, let me know. It's home for me. So thank you.
I hope your thirst has been satiated.
Quenched.
Quenched.